Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another stream. I've changed a few things about my microphone, it's still clipping. Just turn that down by a few dB, shall we? So I have set up some filters, just some general ease of life things. I'm still trying to fine tune it, so I apologize if this bit is a bit too loud. I am turning down the microphone as I speak so that it's not that loud at all. Please let me know. Please let me know how loud it actually is, if it's too loud, if it's too quiet. I think it will probably be too loud looking at things, but I'm not too sure. And I also have moved it further or closer to my mouth. Sounds silly, I know, but I had it on the other side of my desk because that way I could speak and see my entire PC screen, but this way I should be able to have a good microphone quality. What I am going to do is change my... So I've turned it down, I've turned my output gain down on a compressor slightly, so that should be, that might not boost sound as much. Again, I'm still fine tuning this, so I apologize if the start is too loud. But as you can see from the title, we are going to be doing Orcs versus Humans Part 2 again, back on Dawn of War. So if you've missed the previous streams on Twitch, I know only one live stream has been uploaded to YouTube, so if you are watching this on YouTube, you would have missed those. So if you want to come and watch those, you can join me in the top right here on stream. Just type in that name. There should be a 20 there. I need to change that, but there should be a 20 there. So instead of 99, it's 20.99. Let me just change something again in OBS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to, actually, so I've changed the output gain to 2 dB on my compressor. Hopefully that should stop blowing out the microphone. So as I was saying, if you want to join me on Twitch, that's just Kyojin 2099. Again, there should be a 20 there. But over the previous streams, we have been playing Dawn of War. We've been doing some skirmishes, which are like custom matches that you can play as one of the 4 factions in the game. So we've been playing as Orcs recently, so you can see here. I have the Orc game that we're just going to jump straight into, and it has been a 1v2, which is, I think, quite interesting little challenge on this game. So we were, actually it was a 1v1, wasn't it? So I changed it. That's all right then. So we are against the Space Marines, which are basically just the good guys. They seem to be doing really rather well. Also, let me know if the game volume's a bit too low. I could turn it up a little bit more, but I don't want to blow that out as well. So they've been doing quite well against us. As you can see, they're destroying this little encampment that we have, but our main base is up here. And the game mode that we are on is that it's destroy HQ. So if they destroy this building, then we lose. Anything else is a pain, but we can rebuild. So I'm going to move these guys over here, and hopefully they can start dealing with these guys a bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a builder unit, which I do not have, so I'm going to have to build. I'll build 2. So if you missed the last stream, the way that orcs work is that they go off orc population for their upgrades and their unlocks. So other factions will be doing certain requirements, certain buildings to have, certain things to capture, whereas orcs will go off the total orc population. So no matter... I'm going to have to rebuild my army now. So no matter what you build, as long as you have a certain number of orcs, then you unlock certain things. So you'll see here for a Nob squad, which is a heavy infantry close combat unit, I need 61 orc pop. So the orc pop is up here. Well, that's the orc cap. The orc pop is here. So 50 is the total number I can have on that. Anything? I'm able to build total key structure there. You have your I have roots on that. But it will be so it's actually at the time I only had 12 so you guys are, I think, a unit of a space marine, guys, and you can see there's different units. Orcs, these. Give me 2 seconds. That's not what I wanted. There we go. So, I'm just moving things around in OBS. So, so you'll see it has a total number of 9. I think it was 11 before I added any. So as you can see... Actually, let me close some things because... There we go. Because I was streaming at 11, I'm now streaming at 30, which is good. So I want to bring these guys. I want to bring these guys here, I think. So, you can play orcs as basically a swarm. Style, so you overwhelm them with massive numbers like I'm doing so far, or currently rather. Or you can have lots of smaller individual units and do it that way. Depending on your style and situation, you may want to do the latter, you may want to do the former, so you may want a few big squads, or you may want a few smaller squads, or more smaller squads, sorry. So I've lost a banner, which means I have a total number of 50, so I don't know if I'm actually adding any more. Yes, so you'll see I actually can't add any more to this squad, even though I've got it on Overwatch and I have the resources, because there's just generally no room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and bring them back here. I've lost him, so that's fine. I can just build another one. No, never mind. So I will need to build another banner. Which is fine. I can build that in a moment. What I want to do for now, though, is I've lost another banner, so I can just rebuild those quite easily. And this is the slightly annoying thing about playing as Orcs. When you lose your banners, you can't actually get your Orc numbers back up. So as soon as they start dying, if you haven't got the room, then that's it. You're screwed for the moment. But for now, I seem to be doing okay. I think there's enough individuals. I want to deal with this Dreadnought because he's the one who's doing most of the damage against my banners. And then I'll just replace those 2 banners that I lost. So if I infiltrate these guys, put them on infiltrate, they go invisible and they can still build, which is quite nice for... What's the word? It's quite nice when you're in this situation and you're trying to defend yourself. So if I build 3 there, not only do they act as my defense, they will act as the way that I can bring my Orc squad cap back up. I will put the 4 that I've got into these guys to fortify them. Also, these are free, so I will just build those up. Yes. I'm not too sure why, actually. I don't know if they build quicker. They might build quicker, but I'm not sure. So the reason I'm explaining all this again, you may, if you've seen the previous stream, you'll know. I've said this about 3 or 4 times now. But the reason I'm explaining is just in case anyone is new and didn't catch those streams. So for now, I want to protect these banners a little bit, because they will just be overrun. So I want to make sure as well that these don't go, those 3 there. And I can build some here. I mean, they won't be that effective unless they break through here, which they might do, so I'm going to probably build them anyway. But that's mostly just so I can get to the maximum Orc cap, so I could build the biggest army possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build as many as I can here. And I think there is a limit to the cap number, so I can build as many of these as I want, as long as I've got the resources. But I think it maxes the Orc population cap out at 100. So no matter how many I build, I will probably, I think it's 100 total that I can have at any one time. But there's no point in just building enough so that you have 100. You might as well build them extra because of their turret capability. So while I've got the room, I will build a... Oh, no, I won't. I was going to build a knob squad, but I'm not going to have the money for that. And I will build a war boss when I have the money for both as well. So those go over there. Oh, do excuse me. So hopefully the mic quality is good for now, like the sound and everything. There's not so much I can do in terms of getting a better microphone at the moment, so if it's not the best, unfortunately it will have to do for now, so I apologise. But I am hoping to upgrade in the very near future. And that does include my PC, because at the moment I'm kind of stuck playing Dawn of War. I mean, I love the game and I will happily play it for the rest of my life. But in terms of variety of games to stream, I don't have all that many options at the moment. Which is slightly annoying. So I'm just making these, upgrading those to maximum. And I'm turning off Overwatch just so I can actually get a war boss. Because a war boss is quite good. So what I'm going to do is, you can see there that it says, where is it? It says boost morale recovery when attached to squads in that text box. So what you can do is you can attach commander units, as these are. So that's technically a commander unit as well, I think. No, which one's a commander? I think there's another commander unit here. There we go. So a big mech can be attached. So if anything that says commander unit, either primary or secondary, can be attached to a basic infantry unit. And they provide bonuses when they're attached, but sometimes you might not want them to be attached, because if they can do their own, go off on their own, they can also be quite effective. So I have a whirlwind attacking me. If I get these Gretchens to repair. So now I have my commander unit. He can... he'll be attached at some point. I just want him to deal with this whirlwind. So, what I will do is I will actually group these together by pressing Control and a number. And I start at 1 just because some people probably won't, but I'll start at 1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attach him to... That's not one I want. So I'll attach him to one of these guys. It doesn't really matter which one for now. But since he's melee, I'm going to attach him to my close range unit. And he's going to provide a morale bonus or a morale boost. So they won't break as easily. Breaking is basically where they just run away and they're easier to kill. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. And there are weapons that do more damage to morale. So flamethrowers will do more damage to morale than other weapons. But the more damage you do to a unit, their morale decreases over time anyway. It's just that if you want to do that extra morale damage, you can have flamethrowers, which is what I'm trying to do. So they keep dropping all sorts of units, and I feel like I'm not fully prepared for this area, because that seems to be a base area. I think their base is over here actually, or in this, it'll be in this area here. So I want to try and avoid that as much as possible for now, because I want to build a few things up first. Since my Gretchens aren't building anything, I'm going to keep them there. These guys need to come back. So this is why it's a good idea to group things. Instead of ferrying these guys up and down the map, I can just have 2 different groups, and one can stay on the left and one can stay on the right, or wherever they choose to go. So for now I'm going to... Do I want a looted tank? I'm going to get a tank. Oh no, I can't get a tank because I've got the reinforced thing on. So if they all come to this strategic point, defend it. So I'm doing a lot more damage now that I've got my war boss and more orcs. But I'm not doing all that great in terms of overall damage, I feel. So what I want to do is to make sure... Okay, so I also put these on so you have different stances, as usual. So a stand ground just means that they won't chase as much. Hold ground means that they will chase a little bit. Excuse me. So if you set them to go here, so they will all like regroup at this point. If you set them to stand ground, they won't, or they shouldn't move. They'll attack from range if they can. So I'll get these guys up front a little bit. So as you can see, they haven't moved at all now, apart from to just give them all a little bit of space. If you set that to hold ground, they will do some chasing. So they'll chase them to a certain period, and if they don't run into any other enemy, they'll come back a bit. There are a bunch of different stances, and they're useful for different situations, so I like to use all of them if I can. But I might not need to. So, for example, is this a term? Yeah, that's a Terminator. So I tend to do stand ground when I want them to defend a specific point. Sometimes it doesn't always work, because for some reason they do still like to chase a bit. Although since I have units, since I'm going against units with a longer range capability than me, I may need to have them move up a bit. I think they may have a, since there's a lot of vehicles, they may have a secondary base up here, which allows them to do vehicles, although I'm not sure. So now that I've driven them off a little bit, I'm gonna take these guys and sort of start... No, I still can't do that. So even though this is a 1v2 and this is on standard difficulty, this is tough. And this is why sometimes I don't like playing as orcs. And it's not because I like an easy game. I do like to challenge myself. But sometimes the challenge can be like too much to be fun. Even on a very, very easy difficulty setting and a sort of scenario here. Because this isn't like a tough map. And this isn't like a lot of enemies to go up against. Like, I'm only up against one team. In the past, I've been up against like 3 or 4 different teams. And it's been tough. But this is just one enemy team. And it's... I can't get anywhere. At all. So I'm going to try and get rid of this dreadnought again. What I might actually do... I don't know. Do I want to? Because I was going to set them on assault, which means they'll just kill everything that they see. So even if they chase these guys and they come across like more units, enemy units and buildings, they will just try and attack everything. Which can be good if you have a very large army and a very versatile army that can deal with pretty much anything. Not as good when you have a smaller army and it can't do as much damage. So if I just get rid of this listing post, because that's shooting at me. I could... I don't know if I want to have... I might build a secondary base at some point. Obviously, I haven't got the money for it at all. I might actually... Yeah, I'm going to have to start capturing a few more strategic units. Or strategic points, rather.
I have the power of Gork and Mark.
So I'm just going to overwatch everything. Which means I'm going to run out of resources very quickly, but that's fine for now. So you'll typically have, per army, you'll have a commander unit.
I'm the big boss.
who I'm just going to detach for now, show you. So the war boss has a massive health pool. I mean, it's not the biggest compared to other teams, but it's huge. It's huge compared to typical units. Does obviously a lot more damage and a lot more melee damage and a lot more range damage, and obviously has those bonuses when attached. So each faction will have their own unique war boss and their own unique powers that come with it, and they will also have some secondary what do you call them? Secondary units that offer other bonuses. So I'm hoping I'm going to take these guys off Overwatch for now. And then I'm going to put these guys on. Try and upgrade these. But I do need my banners back. Although what I might do, I don't know if it's worth getting a knob leader or a knob squad. I might get a big mech when I have 190. Excuse me. I might get one when I have 190. Because a big mech is quite fun. If you are enjoying this stream, please feel free to let me know, either with a comment, a like, anything you can do to support the channels will be very much appreciated. Either on YouTube there or on Twitch here. Very much appreciated. I do go live on both channels at the same time now. Before it was only Twitch. But now I've set it up so I can go live on Twitch and YouTube at the same time. So if you are watching, or if you have a preferred way to watch, either YouTube live or Twitch broadcasts, feel free to join me on either one of those. And just, yeah, I'm very thankful for any support that you could give me, helping build the channel. So now I have some cash to play with. I am going to build back up this area first, because this is the main area I want to defend, because if they come up here, then I'm screwed. So I want to build up this area, bring my defenses back, and then I can focus on the other area. So just while I'm waiting for these buildings to do, I do have a few. I've actually written down some topics to talk about, because I feel like that's going to help fill some dead air. So one of the topics that I wanted to talk about was the latest movies and latest TV series that I've been watching. So I've recently been watching Doctor Who. If you don't know, Doctor Who is back in the UK and in the US through Disney Plus. However, we can't get it on Disney Plus, despite the fact that we have Disney Plus. And the way that the UK works is you need a TV license to get access to the BBC, which is obviously the company that makes Doctor Who. And we don't want to pay a TV licensing fee if we're just going to watch Doctor Who, because it's a lot of money for something that we're not going to get much use out of, especially when we use like other streaming services that we already pay for. So we decided that we're just going to watch Doctor Who, shall we say, through other means. So I've really been enjoying the series recently. I think both the episodes that have come out recently have been brilliant. The first one, setting up, what was her name? Is it Cassandra Chandra? I forget her name, I do apologise. I can't even remember. It was Ruby Rose, wasn't it? The last one. The last companion, rather. I'm very bad with names. But I do watch, like, old New Who. So I don't watch, like, classic Who from the 60s onwards. I'd love to. But I grew up with Doctor Who from the revival. So 2005 onwards was sort of where I really got into Doctor Who. So I'm very, very knowledgeable about that sort of era, especially David Tennant's era. I love David Tennant as the Doctor. So that's sort of why I'm not as great as remembering the names of recent companions. I didn't even watch Bill's era that much, so the only thing that I really remember about Bill is her name, and that's it. Oh, and the fact that she's a lesbian. But that's all I remember about Bill. But yeah, I've really been enjoying the new episodes. I think the first one has set the tone going forward, and I think I'm not going to spoil too much of the second one in case people haven't seen it. But the second episode, bringing back some of the elements from the previous series, and obviously going forward, we're going to see something sort of resolve, some things be set up in later episodes. I think it was excellent. The whole cartoon idea of Mr. Ring-a-Ding, I think it was just brilliant. I have heard some criticisms of Shooty's or in Shooty's Doctor. To be honest, I don't think they're all that valid. A lot of people say that he cries a lot, as if that's a bad thing. As if, you know, other Doctors didn't cry. I get that, you know, he cries almost every episode, but I think Davies has said that he wants this Doctor to be much more emotionally vulnerable, and I think that's always a good thing. Because I think there's nothing wrong. I've gone back and I've previously, or I have since watched Matt Smith's era of Doctor Who, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong about Moffat's writing. I mean, there are some bits that I don't like, but there are equally bits that I do like. So it's one of those where I think it's an interesting Doctor and an interesting take on the character. But I think in terms of the way that they sort of portrayed that sort of Doctor as they had this very much like he was a god almost the entire time. And I think the whole I love Alex Kingston, so River Song for those who don't know. I love Alex Kingston. I do really like River as a character. What I never really liked was the whole she has a line in Capaldi's Doctor where it's like, when you love the sun, you don't expect the sun to love you back, as if, you know, and it portrays the Doctor as this sort of higher entity, this higher figure than us. And I've never really enjoyed that take on the Doctor. I've always enjoyed the Doctor as a much more like, yeah, he's a mad guy with a box, and people always say, you know, the Doctor, he's just a madman with a box sort of thing. And yes, that is part of his character, but he's also compassionate and caring, and he cares about people. Like David Tennant's Doctor was always saying that he's never met an unimportant person, and it was always about saving like individual people, as well as, you know, these bigger stories where the whole of reality was at stake. Like, you know, the whole Empty Child, which I know it's Eccleston, but it's by the same sort, it's in the same sort of era. But Eccleston, or the Empty Child, was about saving just this one little, I mean, yes, it was this huge threat to Britain at the time. Excuse me. But the core sort of focus and the core drama of that story was about a mother and a child in the end, because, you know, it's revealed that, oh, I can't remember her name now, but Jamie, who's the boy with the gas mask, he is the son, Nancy, that was her name, so he's the son of Nancy, and she was hiding that fact all along by saying it was her brother. So at the end of the episode, it's the core like resolution of the episode was about that individual relationship and how Nancy and Jamie, or about Nancy embracing her motherhood to Jamie, and you know, that famous line, "Just this once, everybody lives," and it's that sort of more down to earth, more sort of guy on the street level story that I prefer. There's nothing really wrong with, you know, the whole... Okay, never mind. I thought this point was going to be well defended, and it's instantly gone. But luckily, I think I have enough banners that it gets me to about 100. But going back to Doctor Who, it's that thing that I've always enjoyed, and there's nothing wrong with the whole... Excuse me, when you love the sun, you don't expect the sun to love you back sort of thing, if you are into that thing. It's just personally not for me. So, all that is to say, I've been really... Oh my god, excuse me. I've been really enjoying the latest episodes of Doctor Who, and we're going to get a new one tomorrow, actually, because it's Friday today, so we're going to get a new one tomorrow, which will be very, very fun to watch on Sunday. So that's been something that I've been watching recently. If you are a fan of Doctor Who, please let me know. I love Doctor Who fans. They're always such very nice people. And I like talking about Doctor Who and which era is your favourite. And which sort of Doctor Who or which Doctor got you into the show. So please let me know down below if you are a fan of Doctor Who. If not, that's fine. Maybe you could become a fan of Doctor Who. Maybe it's your... It sort of piques your interest. But another thing that I've been watching recently is... What's shooting? Oh, that's no good. So another thing that I've been watching recently is Death Note. So I've seen Death Note ages ago, the original anime series. But my wife had never seen it. She really likes Death Note. But all they'd seen was the live-action Japanese movies, which are actually quite good. I must admit, I watched them, I think it was about 2 years ago now. And they were actually quite good in terms of adapting the source material, but also fitting things to... changing things to fit into a 2-part... Technically it's a 3-part movie, and I won't spoil why it's 3 parts, but the main story is over 2 parts, and the 3rd part is like supplementary material. So they're actually really good movies, but we've been watching the series recently, and I forget how brilliant it is as a series. It's the... I think possibly the greatest 25 episodes of TV ever written. Just in general, not of anime, but just of TV in general. And I think that's just... They are just genuinely really, really amazing episodes to watch. I have thoroughly enjoyed rewatching them and enjoying all those things that I found, or I really enjoyed the first time I watched it, which was several years ago now, actually. I think I first watched it... I mean, I watched it late because I wasn't really born in time to watch it in 2007. I was born in... Well, I was born in 99, so I was 8 years old when the show came out, and obviously I didn't really get into anime until I was 14. So I didn't watch it when it originally aired. I watched it a lot later. But I still very much enjoy that show. I will watch that show on repeat, probably for the end of time. I'll watch it, you know, like once a year or so now. But it's just that good. I will genuinely watch it over and over again, even though I know all the twists and turns, I know all the details, I know how it ends. I think it's brilliant. At least the first 25 episodes. I think I'm on episode 27 or 28 now, and it's already... Well, I think people are unanimous in agreeing that the second half, or the second part, let's say, not the best. I think it's only like 11 or so episodes, and they feel like a slog sometimes. At the start, it's not that bad, so we've only just got into it. I think, like I said, I'm on episode 27. So we haven't got into like the main part of this, or the main narrative of that part yet. But we're getting there, and it's gonna be interesting to see the reaction. So I am failing at this, but I said I would do it, so I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to make sure that I try and win. If I lose, I lose, but I'm going to try and win. So yeah, if you do enjoy Death Note or any other anime, you know, I'm more than happy to have a conversation about it. I like watching anime. I haven't seen all that much in terms of, like, compared to other people. I watch it when I feel like watching it, let's say, and I don't always oh, will you move out the way? Oh, for God's sake. Right, stick them in there. So I watch it when I watch it, basically, and I watch some things. I have a very weird, or very unique, not unique. I'm very picky when it comes to what I watch, and that goes for like TV shows as well. I will only really watch a TV show if I feel like I can properly get into it. I won't ever put anything on in the background on TV. That's normally what I use YouTube for, so I'll normally put something on in the background while I'm doing other things on YouTube. But if I'm watching a TV show, I like to watch a TV show, so I get very picky about what shows I watch, because if I'm going to invest all that time into a show, I want to make sure that it's actually somewhat decent. Like, I don't care if it's not perfect, because obviously nothing's perfect. And I've seen plenty of shows that I've enjoyed that weren't perfect, but I have nevertheless enjoyed them. But in terms of oh, come on. But in terms of shows that I like to watch, I think I've really been enjoying Dr. Stone, although I haven't even finished the first season. I think season 4 is out. Is it season 4 or season 3? I can never remember. So I need to finish watching that, and which I will probably do after Death Note is finished. Although we basically have like a revolving list of things on our watch list to actually get through. And I think there's so many things that we've started, we've kind of put off, and then we've seen something else that we want to watch, so we start that. So we've got a bunch of things to finish. But in terms of my own personal watch time and my own personal things that I like to watch, I'll probably finish Dr. Stone. I've finished Solo Leveling, both seasons, which I think is brilliant. I think they're some of the best episodes of anime that I've seen in a long time. Also, I have... what else have I been watching? So I mentioned Death Note. Oh, Kaiju number 9. I finished it a while ago now, but Kaiju number 9 is another show that I've really enjoyed watching. Again, I think those two, so Kaiju number 9 and Solo Leveling, are how to do overpowered characters right. I think a lot of times overpowered characters can come off as cringy and, you know, not very well written. But both Kaiju number 9 and Solo Leveling do a brilliant job at overpowered characters done well, because both of them still have to work for their powers. So main character in Solo Leveling, yeah, I'll talk about Solo Leveling for a bit. I was debating whether or not to talk about it, because I tend not to like spoiling things, but oh, come on. So if I just get my war boss against this Dreadnought, I should be fine. So anyway, what I was saying. So yes, Solo Leveling is overpowered done right, because the character so there's a thing called hunters, and it's basically like heroes in a way. So these dungeons spawn in the real world, and they lead to well, I'm not quite sure where they lead to yet in terms of like an actual name, but they all lead to like this fantasy style world, and if they aren't taken care of, then these monsters pour into the real world. So they have something called hunters, which are these people who deal with these portals essentially, and they all have powers, and they get ranked according to their power. So the highest you can be is S rank, and the lowest you can be is E rank. And S ranks are extremely rare. I think there's 10 overall in the world, and I think Japan has 7 in the show. So Jinu, who's the main character, I think that's how you pronounce his name. They have Korean names, even though it's a it's a Korean web comic made by a Japanese production company, so it's Korean names pronounced by Japanese people. So I'm not too sure how to pronounce it. So I'm going to say Jinu for now, because that's how they pronounce it. And I think I've seen a few Korean things, and I think that's how it would be pronounced. But basically, he's an E rank hunter, as you might imagine. Let me just sort my chat out. There we go. So he's an E rank hunter who's the weakest, and that goes. So the way that the thing's set up, I am bad at explaining things, I will completely admit. I am horrendous when it comes to explaining like a movie or a show or anything like that. But basically, the world uses the sort of the resources found in a dungeon to make magical items. So there are people who will like craft weapons and armor and things like that based on the resources that are found in these dungeons. So obviously the higher the dungeon, the stronger the enemies, and the more powerful equipment can be built from it. So Jinu is kind of stuck with very low level equipment, and he kind of has to rely on basically kill stealing in order to survive and get any sort of money, any new equipment, things like that. But obviously, since he's very low ranked, he can't actually contribute all that much, and he doesn't get paid all that much for completing a dungeon. But one day they enter, I think it's a D rank. So the rank that you're at, you can go up 1 in a dungeon. So if you are an E rank, the highest you can go in is a D rank dungeon, because anything other than that is just too dangerous, and you're basically gonna die. Even if you have the protection of higher level hunters, you are more likely than not going to die. So they tend to not let you go more than one rank above your current rank. And in the society that they live in, hunters don't change ranks. Like, it's extremely rare for a hunter to change rank. They can, it's something called a reawakening, but it's quite rare to go through. So what will happen is they will go into a dungeon, and normally it will stay as that dungeon. The dungeon that Jinu goes into with his group at the start of the show is a D rank, but it leads to an S rank part of the dungeon. And I'm not going to spoil, because even I don't know all the details, so I'm not going to spoil all of it, but there is a reason why that specific dungeon there's a reason why that specific dungeon they go into, and all these it's a very interesting first, I think it's 3 or 4 episodes. The first 3 or 4 episodes are really interesting and set up the world and the sort of characters really well. But without spoiling too much, Genu comes back from that dungeon at a different rank. So what happens is he starts seeing like video game pop-ups, essentially.
I'm not doing anything.
And that's how he starts basically gaining all these new powers and moving up a rank, which he starts to hide at first because obviously he doesn't want people to know about what happened, because as the series goes on, he starts getting more of his memories back from that encounter. But as he doesn't want people to know at the start, he kind of hides it, and you know, he doesn't want people to know what actually happened. So a lot of the first part of the I think season 1 is about him sort of going in lower level dungeons and just completely acing them. Like he solos these dungeons. So then, sorry, I'm just trying to upgrade my banners here, so they don't die as quickly. So where was I? So he starts soloing all these dungeons, and he gains experience points that way, and that's how he gets stronger. And as he keeps going through all these dungeons and killing all these enemies, he keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger until he eventually gets himself retested, because you can do that. That's how you gain your rank. So if you feel like you've reawakened, you have to get yourself retested for your rank, and he ends up doing that like near the end of the first season. He like eventually comes around to it, and he realizes if he wants to get any serious like money or armor or anything like that, he has to start going to S rank dungeons, but he can't do that because he's still registered as an E rank even though he has S rank powers. And he finally registers. He becomes the 10th S rank in the country. But we spend a lot of time with him just grinding out all these levels and all these dungeons, and like he will spend like literal hours going through some of these dungeons and these challenges to get that experience so he can be stronger, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to be stronger, so he can protect people. So that's why I say it's overpowered done right, because he doesn't suddenly wake up and he has all these powers. He gains these powers through his hard work. So even though he is stronger afterwards, and we know that he's going to eventually become overpowered, because that's just how this style of show works, the way that he gets there is what's so interesting about it and so compelling about it, because we know that he's actually trained and like fought really hard for these powers. So that's why I think solo leveling is overpowered characters done right. The second one was Kaiju number 9, wasn't it? That's what I was talking about. Kaiju number 9 is a similar sort of thing, where there's Kaiju in the world. You know, just Godzilla and whatnot, that sort of thing. I'm gonna get another Nob Squad. Nope, I can't get another Nob Squad, but I will when I can. So there's Kaiju in Japan, and they do what Kaiju do, and they start destroying things. So there are people who are able to take them down as Kaiju hunters, and they use sort of the powers that they extract from Kaiju in order to gain extra powers. So they have like suits and weapons, and all of it's based on Kaiju powers. So the more that they can extract from the suit, the better of a fighter they are. So there are people who can extract I can't remember. No one's extracted 100%, I don't think. But I think the closest that they get to is about 40% of the suit, and at that point they are genuinely like superhuman. Like they're running at the speed of light. They're so I haven't got a commander anymore. So they're running at the speed of light. They're wielding these like huge heavy swords and guns and weapons and things like that. They're flying around the battlefield. Like, they're insane, and that's only at 40%. So going forward, I'm excited to see what 50% looks like. But there's this guy who had a childhood friend, and they were attacked by kaiju when they were younger, and I think their whole village was destroyed, and they managed to make it out, and they made a deal to each other that they would become kaiju hunters. And we start the season with his friend, who's become a kaiju hunter and captain. So she's quite a decorated general, or a captain, I think it is, who's got all these cool fancy powers, and like she's in the public figure, and he's a cleaner. So whenever a kaiju gets killed, obviously it leaves its corpse. And that's how they gain kaiju powers, but they need cleaners in order to like strip the carcass and move it away so people can start rebuilding. Let me just do this. So he's a cleaner, and he's almost at the end of the cut-off period for signing up. He's tried a few times, but he's failed every single time. But then he meets someone who he ends up saving their life, and that kind of inspires him to go back and try the exam again, because he realizes that it's like who he is. He is someone who wants to save people. So he decides to enter the exam, but before he does, after they get attacked by a kaiju, this other kaiju like enters his body and gives him all these kaiju powers. So obviously you can kind of tell that he uses those. I'm not going to say that it's like the most unpredictable thing. It's obviously, you know, there's a lot of conventions and tropes in there for a reason, but that's because they work. And the thing about writing with tropes and conventions is just making them unique, and the way that they make it unique is through character. So he's like this he's in his 30s, but for Japan that's quite, you know, anyone over 25 who hasn't got their life together is considered a failure in Japan, pretty much, especially women. But for guys it is very much, you know, if you're in your 30s and you haven't got a good career, you haven't got a family, you haven't got children, and you haven't settled down, you are kind of looked down upon by society. So as a 30-year-old or 30-ish, you know, a man in his 30s is kind of disheartened by the fact that people don't think that he has a chance. Like they humor him essentially. Okay, I don't know what is going on. I have units somewhere, I think. It's showing me that I have. No, I don't. So anyway. So it's from the perspective of, I think the manga writer has said himself that he kind of started writing it from his perspective, in the sense of he didn't get much success in his like 20s, as most manga writers do, who are successful, that is. And he only really started gaining popularity in his late 20s, early 30s. So he writes from the perspective of someone who's had that life experience of not living up to all these expectations from a very young age. And that's kind of why the character is so relatable, because he shows that it kind of bucks that trope of anime heroes being like, you know, young teenagers or young 20-year-olds this is a guy who is in his 30s and hasn't accomplished much, but now suddenly he is able to do all the things he wanted to do, but he still struggles. So he gains... So going back to the suits, he's only able to gain or bring out 1% of the suit power. They consider anything to be, I think, below 5%. So 5% is around about where they expect people to start at. Obviously, because they haven't had the training to bring out the suit powers, but if they have training from beforehand, so some people are like ex-military, so they're more likely to bring out some of the suit powers because they have that prior experience. But for him, he's like, you know, a 30-year-old cleaner, and it's a dream of his, so he doesn't do very well to begin with, despite having these kaiju powers. So at the start, it's him obviously not wanting to out himself as a kaiju, because that means they just kill him like they do all other kaiju. But it's also about him trying to be useful by himself, so he doesn't have to always rely on his powers. So a lot like Genu in Solo Leveling, like, we know that he's going to be the most powerful character in that universe, but the way he gets there is through this hard work, this dedication, and like not a reliance on these powers that have been just given to him. He still has to struggle, and he still has to try and make himself up to the standard of everyone else in his unit. And obviously they're sort of progressing themselves. They're always improving themselves at the same time, so he's always trying to play catch up. So from like a very human style of story, where we're following this guy who is just trying to, but he's just trying to be a hero essentially, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to help people, but he has to deal with all these obstacles that are in his way. So I think that's why those two are really, really good anime that I've been watching over the past, how long ago has it been now? I think it's been about 6 months now, maybe less.
Yeah?
So they've been really interesting to watch. Another thing I wanted to talk about was games. So recently, the Oblivion remake has been announced, and I think it's even come out now. I'm not too sure. So if you are excited about the Oblivion remake, please let me know. Personally, I played a bit of Oblivion
Want to smash?
back in the day. If I just stick this guy here, he might die before he manages to... But if I put him in cover, hopefully he'll take less damage, and then I can just have him do that. So, yeah, I played Oblivion originally, not when it came out. My dad had it, and then I played it a bit later on in life, although I think I watched him play it a lot, and he seemed to enjoy it. I'm not going to deny that Oblivion is obviously a classic Bethesda game, and a classic Elder Scrolls game. I don't really like this trend of remakes now, because we've had Resident Evil remakes, we've had Silent Hill remakes, we've had other remakes that I can't think of at the minute, but I'm pretty sure we've had some recent remakes that have come out in the past few years or so. And while I like the idea of... I think a HD remake is fine. So if you're going to do basically the same core game, but for like modern consoles, I think that's fine. But I would also rather have that original game there as sort of a cheaper option. So if I wanted to play Silent Hill, for example, I didn't want to play the Silent Hill remake because I wanted that old school like 90s graphics and feeling and sort of, you know, old PlayStation 1 era gaming that you can only get by playing the original. I'd rather that be an option as well. I feel like a lot of times they don't actually do that. So they'll remake the game, but they won't offer anything as like a bonus. And that's just my opinion. I might be entirely wrong.
Hello? Who's there?
But in terms of sort of Oblivion, if they did a bundle, and by bundle I mean they sold it as the game,
We'll rip their legs off.
where they sold the remake and it was included, like the original Oblivion was included, so people could go back and play the old version if they really wanted to for like nostalgia or, you know, glitches or anything like that. I think that would be interesting to do, but they tend not to do that because obviously if people want a remake, like a high definition remake or a modern remake, they don't want the old version, which is completely fine. That's just something I think would be a good idea.
I'm not doing anything. Fix one.
Okay, so I'm getting attacked here. I'm going to leave that actually. So what was I saying? So Oblivion is an interesting case. I think the best remake I've ever seen is the Master Chief Collection for Xbox, and I think that's because you could switch seamlessly between the modern graphics on the old on Halo 1 and 2. They had the modern graphics, and then with a push of a button you could switch to the old graphics, so you did have that nostalgia, but obviously it was on a modern console, so you had all the convenience of the modern console, you know, like the updated like game settings, the updated controller, the online was better. You could get the other, so you could get Halo Reach and ODST as well as part of the bundle or as part of the game. And I think that to me is how you should remake and remaster a game. You should have that option there to do the old style graphics purely for nostalgia. And I know a lot of people might critique that and say they're just pandering to, you know, the older like the original audience, and there's no need to sell like a $80 game if you're just also going to have the really bad graphics. But I think in terms of nostalgia and in terms of people who do want the modern, like the game on a modern console, but want the old school graphics, just for nostalgia, I think that would be interesting to see. So what was I going to say? There was some dead air there. So I think that's my opinion on Oblivion. I think I have nothing against the game. I have played it before, like I said, and it was, I don't know, I think disappointing, but that's only because I played Skyrim first. I realised if you play Oblivion like at the time, and if you grew up with Oblivion, like, you know, people in their 30s might have done because they were old enough to play the game at the time of the release. You have that nostalgia and you kind of understood how it works, but I went back and I played Oblivion, and after playing Skyrim, I can see Skyrim as a huge upgrade on the Oblivion system. That being said, I hate how Skyrim is the only Elder Scrolls game we've had for the past, what is it, 12 years now? So that's another thing I wanted to say. Like, I'm more than happy for them to bring out remakes to suit the modern gaming convention. So, you know, for PC, next gen consoles, I don't mind them remaking old games so that it can run on those and look really, really nice. Like Demon Souls. The Demon Souls remake on the PlayStation 5 looks gorgeous. Like genuinely, it looks amazing. But in terms of new games that go from FromSoft or anything in the Oblivion, what am I saying? What am I thinking of? Sorry, I'm trying to get my thoughts organized. What was I saying? So if we didn't get... That was it. So if we didn't get a new game by FromSoft, and they just decided to dedicate their entire... the rest of their life on just remaking older games in their from their library, I don't think that would be... I don't know if that would be... I wouldn't enjoy that. Because I feel like if you're just dedicated to remaking things, it's going to be really, really annoying when you want that new innovation, because you can't innovate if you're just remaking things, because you're focused on remaking everything into HD. Whereas if you are remaking things or doing a HD remake of things and then bringing out new games, I'm more than happy with that. I think that's sort of, if I was a big studio like Bethesda or FromSoft or 343 or any of these big gaming studios, that's the way that I'd want to run the business, because I feel like that then satisfies both crowds of people who don't want to spend all their money on remakes when they can just play the old game, because there is an argument to be made that why are you spending £80 on the Oblivion remake when you can get the original for like £2 or something like that from a second-hand shop and have it run on a PlayStation 3. If you already have a PlayStation 3, you probably don't want the Oblivion remake because you can just play it on your PlayStation. But that being said, there are people who will obviously... Can they stop chasing? Oh my god, this is insane. Like, I genuinely cannot get anywhere in this map. We're going for an hour and 14 minutes, and I haven't got anywhere. Oh, jeez Louise. So, what was I saying? So yeah, I think that it's just annoying to me how current games seem to be focused more on remakes than they are on actually bringing out new games. Like Bethesda has not brought out a new Elder Scrolls game since Skyrim. All the new games in quotes have been either Skyrim updates and like repackages for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, PC, all that lot, or it has been just remaking an even older game like Oblivion. I would want them to do both if they can. Either do a new game, a new Elder Scrolls game, and don't wait 20 years or 10 years to do it. Or I would want them to do that and remakes, or just not do remakes for the foreseeable future until they manage to get a new game out. Because I don't see the point, personally. But that's just my opinion.
Build it right up for you.
So I think what I might do with this game is I might save this actually. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to do a different version, start a new version of this skirmish. So they're winning, they have more resources, they have a bigger military. I have better technology, but as you can see, that score difference just ain't cutting it, and that is just a general idea of how strong your army is. So that was a 40-minute session on that map. Got absolutely nowhere. So what I might do is I might do a really big one with lots of teams. I think the pits could be fun. Yeah, so this will be fun. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have... So everyone will be... First 4 will be with me. And the other 4 will be against us. So it will be a 4v4. And I'm going to be... So we're going to have Space Marines, because why not have Space Marines all working together? And these are going to be Chaos, Eldar, and 2 Orcs. So, much like on the tabletop game where you can make your own like scenarios and missions and campaigns, this one is going to be... I want to be Imperial Fists actually, because I like the colour scheme. So these can be... No, they've already got Blood Ravens. Actually, I'll be Space Wolves. I like Space Wolves, because then these can be Imperial Fists. These can be White Scars, and these can be Ultramarines. So, like on the tabletop game, where you can basically make up your own campaign, so you can either replay campaigns from like the lore and from Games Workshop sort of crafted campaigns. You can also just make up your own. So in this scenario, we are on the planet wherever we are. I forget what planet this is called. And the forces of Chaos, Eldar, and the Orcs have all teamed up together. For some reason, we'll just say that, you know, they're working towards a common goal, and then eventually they'll go back to killing each other. And because they have all teamed up, all of the Space Marines have, or 4 of the Space Marine chapters have been deployed to try and stop them. Because it just takes that many. Oh, excuse me. I am very mucusy, and that's not a nice thing to hear through the microphone. So I just muted the microphone, just so I could have a drink and sort out that situation. So I'm going to start this one. I probably won't finish it by the end of the stream. So this will be another one that we can save and come back to another time. So I'd like to have some of these games on the go so that I can keep going back and forth. So I'm not stuck just playing as one faction all the time, and I don't have to play through that entire match all the time. I can just play as different races. One race I haven't played yet is Eldar, so that will probably be the next race I play as, because I've played as all the others so far on this game apart from Eldar. So I'm going to start with Space Marines, or I'm going to jump in as Space Marines, and we're going to be against all the other factions in this game. And we'll see how we manage to survive. I also have some other ideas for stream, so if you are watching this and you've got this far, first of all, thank you very much for watching an hour and 20 of me just rambling on and playing this game. But if you have got this far, I have got some other ideas for what we can do on the stream. So I like to make music in my spare time. I will say that I'm not that good. I am very much a beginner music maker, but I do like to make music in my spare time. So if you do want to have a stream of me making music and how I go through that process, please let me know, and I am more than happy to do so. So I'm going to go with the classic Space Marine tactic that I normally use, which is to build 2 builders, get a chapel barracks going, then I'm going to get 2 scouts, because they can capture strategic points until my chapel barracks is built, and then I can build my Space Marine units. So for now, that's what we're going to do. And as you can see, these are all my teammates, so I can see what they're doing. I can't control them, but I can... See, I can't control them, but I can see what they're doing, and I can sort of give them some help. And likewise, the computer can see what I'm doing. Whether or not it will actually decide to help, I don't know. So I'm going to build 2 Space Marine units, and I'm going to build a commander unit, and then I am going to have to make sure that I build generators to get my power sorted. I can also share resources with my allies here. I have never done that before in my life. If I was playing with someone like a human, I probably would. But in terms of PC, I don't really think it's that. I don't think it's really that important. So for now, I'm just going to wait until I have enough for a plasma generator. I think they're going to attack. So as you can see, they're already being attacked by Chaos. So Chaos are probably around about here-ish. So the White Scars are going to try and deal with those. I'm going to try and protect this area because I have a feeling that an enemy base will be around here-ish somewhere, already being attacked by Orcs. So these guys will come back, so scouts are not going to survive. I'll have these at the strategic point. Take these to the strategic point. So now I have enough for some plasma generators. I'm going to build those so I can solve my power issues. So the Imperial Fists are coming down here. I don't have to worry about those, of course. So they're, as you can see, they're assisting me, so they're going to start firing and then run away like cowards. But you can help each other that way, so if I see these guys are being overrun, I might send some guys over to help them. At the moment, I'm not really that fussed because it's the early game.
I command in the name of the Emperor. On alert, brothers.
So I'm going
The
to
enemy must be
attach
nearby.
this guy to this unit. They're getting overrun there by Chaos. So again, I'm having...
Softly and carry
What I might do is I might... No, the Imperial Fists are dealing with that. So I'm going to stay here and protect them taking this strategic point.
my aim shall not fall.
So they're going to deal with these Orcs that are coming in now. I have power sorted. No, I need to build this plasma generator first.
The Emperor protects.
That's fine. So they've stopped taking that strategic point. So what I might do is I'm going to take that and start setting up some defenses. Actually,
My aim shall not falter.
stop these. Okay, never mind. I was going to stop these guys, but wasn't able to in time. So these guys are going to capture this strategic point, and these will provide some cover or some protection.
Follow me into battle.
So now I have my energy going. For some reason, it's ticking along. Yeah, I'm not getting a huge power bonus, even though each one of these should be doing 10. So I'm not sure if that's because it's shared or because of what. Normally, I'd have way more power than this.
Today the enemy shall move.
So hopefully I can kill these guys. I'm not going to be able to. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do... Where are my builders? So a listening post on... Oh, listening post on here. And then because I have the money, a listening post on there when it has... I'm also going to start reinforcing these guys that I have already, because they're 50 apiece and I have the money. I've got a lot of resources to start with. And as you can see, when that's built, there we go. So I'm immediately just going to upgrade my listening post because they're just going to be attacked constantly.
With me shall be my brother. He who stands
So I'm going to try and defend sort of this little area for now. I'm not too worried about the rest of the map. I'm going to try and build up my own army first, because then I'll be able to help the other Space Marines better. What I do need to do is build an armory, so I can upgrade my weapons. So what I'm going to do is armory. Actually, I'll build it this side. Shall I? No, I'll build it this side. I'm going to have one of the guys go and repair that strategic point, that listening post. Nice. And then get back to the armory.
Praise the Emperor.
So I'm going to wait until I have an armory, because then I can have, excuse me, flamers and heavy bolters. I'm probably going to stick with heavy bolters for now, just because that's how I, excuse me, that's how I prefer to play. Sometimes I will use flamers actually, sometimes not. So I'm just going to do heavy bolters on both. So since they're not doing anything at the moment, they can take over that, and these guys can stay here just in case, because it looks like some orcs are going to come my way. So if the Imperial Fist can't deal with them, I'm going to cancel this, but it looks like we should be doing okay. So I might lose some guys here, but that's fine. I've got some backup. No. Nope, I'm going to come back here. So I'm going to set up some turrets now. Nope, okay. I don't know why my generators are going so slowly. It's annoying, but that's just how things are for now. So I need them to get rid of this big mech unit first, because he's going to do a lot of damage if we don't get rid of him. And then we can get rid of the sluggers. Nice. So now, as you can see, they're just going to mow these guys down as they come through. While I have the money, I'm going to do a listening post so I can get more. I don't know if I can request. Can I request? No, so I can't. Oh, there we go. I kind of can, but I can't. It says here request, but I don't know what that actually means. So I've never gone over that diplomacy tab. It's never really factored into games at all because I play single player anyway. Even on skirmishes, I play single player, and I don't tend to team up with the AI. So it's something new. So what I'm going to do is, yes, I'm going to keep these guys here and get my, what do I need for a turret? I need 75. No, don't click outside the, because I'm playing this on windowed mode, I just accidentally clicked outside the window, which stops the game. So I mentioned earlier that I like to make my own music in my spare time. It is very much a hobby. It's nothing too serious because I'm not all that good at the moment. But if you do like to make your own music, please tell me what sort of genre you like to make. And if you don't like to make music but you still like listening to music, then by all means tell me what sort of music you like to listen to. I'm quite open when it comes to my music taste. Like, I will just basically listen to anything that I like the sound of. I'm not I'm less concerned with genre. I do have my favorites, of course, like my favorite genres, but if I like the sound of something, then I'll just listen to it. I don't really care as much about a genre in that instance. So now I have some turrets and my upgraded listening post so they can defend themselves a bit easier. What I am going to do is work towards getting a monastery. I am also going to get a heavy weapon increase so that when I get my monastery, they can have
What would you
rocket launchers and plasma guns. So for now, I need to bring these guys back. Have they built that turret yet? Yeah. So the turret's been built, which is fine. So Space Marines need to attack, try and keep that turret safe. So this is why I like to do heavy weapons, or heavy bolters, because they do a lot of damage. But obviously they are less versatile or less useful against, what do you call them? Like vehicles and buildings. So they're better at infantry. I think it will even say, yeah, effective against infantry. So I like them for very much early game encounters where it's mostly infantry, but once you get to the mid game and vehicles start being being brought into it, you need to have rocket launchers and things like that. Plasma guns are also good against heavy infantry, which is basically what Chaos is. Well, Chaos is almost entirely heavy infantry, because Space Marines are heavy infantry and they use Space Marines. So I will probably have some plasma guns in my Space Marine units, which is not something I tend to do. But it's something I'm going to do now because it will be effective against them.
He who stands with me shall be my brother.
So we have thankfully got some listening posts set up by our other teammates and some things captured so that we can all sort of... I think it might actually genuinely be shared. I don't know if it's shared by... I don't know if it's shared... Hold on, let me just check, because I want to check something. Bear with me. So I want to check. So where am I? So I want to see, actually I'll come to this screen so you're not. Right, so I'm gonna be right back. I just want to check something quickly, and I thought it's easier than just, or this is a nicer screen to look at than just a dead screen.